I put some lube on and got him on his knees, and I began to slide into him from behind. I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself. This was my ass, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside me. What planet did you just parachute in from? Or what country, more appropriately? This is not China. You came here with a problem, and I'm trying to understand the solution, and you don't have one. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside of me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to America First, your go-to channel for truth, liberty, and standing up to the woke insanity that's taking over this country. Today we're diving into a Senate hearing clip where Senator John Kennedy absolutely destroys woke activists and their LGBTQ agenda. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this one. So hit that like button, subscribe to America First, and ring the bell icon so you never miss a video. Let's keep the fight for truth and freedom alive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I confess I'm a little confused, and I appreciate the argument or discussion that we've been having, but for me it's a little too conceptual, or I don't know, metaphysical or theological or whatever you want to call it. I want to try to understand what you're asking us to do. Let's take two books that have been much discussed. The first one is called All Boys Aren't Blue, and I will quote from it. I put some lube on and got him on his knees, and I began to slide into him from behind. I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. He asked me to turn over while he slipped a condom on himself. This was my ass, and I was struggling to imagine someone inside me. He got on top and slowly inserted himself into me. It was the worst pain I think I have ever felt in my life. Eventually, I felt a mix of pleasure with the pain. Close quote. All Boys Aren't Blue. The second is another much discussed book. I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's called Genderqueer. Okay? Let me read an excerpt from that. Quote, I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It will fit my favorite dildo perfectly. You're going to look so hot. I can't wait to have your cock in my mouth. I'm going to give you the blowjob of your life. Then I want you inside of me. End quote. Now, Mr. Secretary, what are you asking us to do? Are you suggesting that only librarians should decide whether the two books that I just referenced should be available to kids? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay. Tell me what you're saying.
Well, first of all, there's this...
Don't give me a speech. Tell me what you're asking me to do.
With all due respect, Senator, the words you spoke are disturbing, especially coming out of your mouth is very disturbing. But I would also tell you that we're not advocating for kids to read porn, to Senator Booker's point.
What are you advocating for?
We are advocating for parents, random parents, not to have the ability, under the guise of keeping kids safe, to try and challenge the world view of every single manner on these issues.
You're getting conceptual game.
I'm not getting conceptual. I'm saying that...
you are. Yes, you are. Because I want to know what you're recommending. It sounds to me like what some of you are saying, the librarians should decide Who gets to see that book?
I'm saying when individual parents are allowed to make a decision of where that line is, and To Kill a Mockingbird, which involves a rape scene, should that book be pulled from our libraries? I think it becomes a slippery slope.
I think you ought to think about it a little bit more before you come here.
I've thought about,
if you're going to propose something, you ought to be able, in 30 seconds, to be able to explain what you're asking us to do. Ms. Kelly, what do you understand? Well, let me skip you for a second. Mr. Cameron, tell me what you're proposing.
It's pronounced mix.
Mix? Is that how would you like me to refer to you?
Senator, your definition of sexual is synonymous with LGBTQ identity.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you to tell me you read those two excerpts.
Genderqueer.
Do you think that, are you asking that only librarians and not parents have any say in whether minors can read those books? Is that what you're saying?
Genderqueer has never been in my school library, so it's never been banned.
Well, suppose it was. Should it be up just to the librarian, or should parents have a say?
There should be facilitation of collaboration between students,
parents
and
have a say?
Parents should be working with students and educators to be making decisions, because students are...
And who decides ultimately? The librarian, or do you take a vote, or who takes the vote?
Book review committees in the community in my school district.
You want a committee to decide?
There are committees.
Okay. Well, I'm asking you, how do we decide whether the two books that I just referenced should be available in the library? What would you, if you were running things, what would you do?
All Boys Aren't Blue, the scene you mentioned, is about sexual abuse.
I know what it's about.
It's not
What
erotic.
would you do in terms of making the books available? Would you say anybody can see them, or they have to be in a special session?
Students who do not read books like All Boys Aren't Blue cannot learn what is appropriate.
I understand that.
They cannot learn.
I understand, but none of you
abuse.
want to answer my question. You come here and you say censorship is bad, and of course it's bad. But the obvious response is, okay, you heard the books we're talking about. Okay, we're not talking about Catcher in the Rye. So tell me what you want, who gets to decide. And all I've heard is the librarians. And parents have nothing to do with it. And if that's your response, what planet did you just parachute in from?
Parents, Senator.
Or what country, more appropriately? This is not China.
Parents, Senator, for all due respect, parents absolutely have a say. My parents were immigrants, came to this country. We never checked out books without our parents seeing what books we were reading. They encouraged us to read books.
Mr. Secretary, I understand this is good for your politics back home.
It's got nothing to do with my politics. My bill is passed.
Of course it does. It has everything to do with your politics.
I'm here to...
But you came here with a problem, and I'm trying to understand the solution, and you don't have one.
We solved the solution.
Other than to tell us that we don't agree with you, we'll be on the wrong side of history.
We solved the problem in Illinois. We fixed it. Because we
well, there are others you could work on.
Well, that's why I'm
out
here
of
to help.
time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hawley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. I think it's safe to say that all of you are here today because you are opposed to government censorship. Is that right? Have I got that broadly correct? Okay, we can agree on that much. Book banning is a form of government censorship. Is that broadly speaking correct? Professor Knox, you're an expert in this. Let me just ask you, book banning is a problem under the First Amendment because it's the government telling private individuals, authors, what have you, what they can and cannot write, telling the public what they can and cannot read. Is that broadly speaking correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So now what if the books were digital only? Could the government ban them then? So no hard copies, no physical copies, it's just digital books. Could the government engage in book banning then under the First Amendment? No problem.
No, that's about a format of the particular book, and that really doesn't matter when it comes to whether or not government is banning a book.
Okay, what if the government made a list of authors whose books it wanted banned, and also went to all of the publishing houses in America, the government did, and said, do not publish the books by any of these authors or we will punish you? Is that a problem under the First Amendment?
My hope is that the government would not be involved in the decisions of a private company.
Good. I would hope so too, but apparently that is not the case in the United States of America today under this administration, because the hypotheticals I've just given you aren't hypotheticals at all. They've happened, and we know that they are happening. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals just ruled in a case, Missouri versus Biden. I'm sure you're all familiar with this. It's going to go down, I think, as a landmark case in the worst possible way in First Amendment law, because what the Court of Appeals found is that the White House, not just the federal government, but the White House, actively coerced every major social media platform in America. Let me say that again. Every major social media platform in America to ban speech that the White House did not like. What are we talking about here? Well, we're talking about speech on the COVID-19 pandemic, speech on the 2022 congressional elections, speech related to mask mandates, speech related to vaccines. What did the White House do? Well, over a period of years, they met with, on a regular basis, the leaders of social media companies and demanded that the speech they did not like be taken down. They further demanded that these same social media companies amplify the White House's speech. Amazing. So take down all of this speech that we don't like, amplify our own speech. Unbelievable. What kind of speech are we talking about? Well, for example, not just public officials, but parents. Here's an example from my state, the state of Missouri. I'm reading you from the opinion here. One parent who posted on nixdoor.com, which is a site operated by Facebook, posted an online petition to encourage his school to remain mask optional, found that his posts were removed without notifying him, and his friends never saw them. Another parent in the same school district who objected to mask mandates for school children responded to Dr. Fauci on Twitter and promptly received a warning from Twitter that his account would be banned if he did not delete the tweets criticizing Dr. Fauci's approach to mask mandates. These objections, amazingly, this censorship was taken at the direct behest of the federal government, the direct behest of the Biden administration. Professor Knox, is this a violation of the First Amendment?
Only a judge can make that determination.
And a judge has. I'm glad you said that. Multiple judges. The district court, federal district court, said there was a direct First Amendment violation. Court of Appeals unanimously, 3-judge panel, unanimously said direct First Amendment violation. I can't think of another time in American history when the President of the United States, and I say that advisedly because the record reflects that White House officials were sending emails and communications to these companies saying that the President himself wanted the censorship. So you've got the government doing exactly what Professor Knox said is not permitted under the First Amendment, directly coercing the speech of private parties, and not just one or two authors, but parents all across the country. Unprecedented in the history of this nation. So I'm glad we're having this hearing today. I hope that we will have more like it to expose the censorship happening at the highest levels of our government. Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that this opinion, this judgment by the Fifth Circuit, Missouri versus Biden, be entered into the record in full.
Without objection.
I will leave it there. I know there are other Senator Kennedys here who want to ask questions, but I just want to say for the record that this kind of censorship is un-American, it is unconstitutional, and I hope it will go down as a sad chapter in American history that we can close here and now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hawley.
All right, Patriots, let's get into it. So, in this hearing, Senator John Kennedy does what so few politicians have the courage to do these days. He actually confronts the insanity head-on. He reads aloud word for word from 2 books that activists are pushing in our school libraries, All Boys Aren't Blue and Genderqueer. Now, let me warn you folks, these books contain some of the most sexually explicit and downright disgusting content I've ever heard. These are books aimed at kids. That's right, children. And the woke left wants to normalize this garbage in schools. Senator Kennedy, God bless him, reads passages from these books, and let me tell you folks, it's hard to even listen to. One describes graphic sexual acts between two males, and the other talks about using a strap-on for explicit purposes. This is the kind of filth they're calling education for our children. Now you tell me, how is this appropriate for schools? How is this supposed to teach our kids anything of value? Spoiler alert, it doesn't. It's an attack on our morals, plain and simple. But here's the kicker. When Senator Kennedy asks these so-called experts and woke activists what they want to do about it, they can't even give him a straight answer. He's asking simple questions. Should parents have a say in what books are in their kids' libraries? Should librarians be the only ones deciding what's appropriate? And what do? They dodge the questions. They give these vague, wishy-washy answers about collaboration and students needing representation. Representation of what exactly? Pornography? One witness even tries to argue that these books are educational because they deal with issues like sexual abuse. Listen, no one is saying we shouldn't teach kids about tough topics like abuse, but there's a way to do it that doesn't involve graphic, pornographic descriptions. This isn't education, it's indoctrination. And it's all part of the left's agenda to sexualize our kids and destroy traditional family values. Did you hear that, folks? Senator Kennedy reads those disgusting passages, and you can hear how uncomfortable everyone in that room gets. And they should be uncomfortable. But instead of addressing the real issue, why this filth is in schools, they try to turn around on Kennedy, saying it's disturbing to hear him read it out loud. Well, yeah, it is disturbing. That's the point. If it's too disturbing to read out loud in a Senate hearing, then why on earth is it in a school library where kids can access it? It's total hypocrisy, and Kennedy calls them out for it. And when the woke activists finally try to explain their position, they make it clear they don't want parents to have any say in what their kids are exposed to. One witness even has the audacity to suggest that parents shouldn't be able to challenge worldviews in schools. Are you kidding me? This is America. Parents have every right to control what their kids are exposed to. This isn't China, as Kennedy rightly points out. And yet, these activists want to act like parents are the problem. Unreal. Now, let's talk about Senator Josh Hawley, another patriot who stands up for our Constitution. He takes this hearing to the next level by exposing the Biden administration's blatant assault on free speech. Hawley reveals how the White House has been pressuring social media companies to censor speech they don't like. And we're not talking about just a few posts here and there. We're talking about mass censorship of parents, doctors, and everyday Americans who dare to speak out about COVID policies, mask mandates, and even elections. The courts have already ruled on this, patriots. The Biden administration violated the First Amendment by coercing social media companies to silence dissenting voices. This is government censorship, plain and simple. And it's not just unconstitutional, it's un-American. The government has no right to decide what we can and cannot say. This is tyranny, and it should scare every single one of us. So, what's the takeaway here? First, we need more leaders like Senator Kennedy and Senator Hawley who aren't afraid to call out the left's insanity. Second, we need to stand up for our kids, our families, and our Constitution. Woke activists want to sexualize our children and silence our voices, but we're not going to let them. Not on my watch, and not on yours either, patriots. If you agree that this woke agenda has gone too far, smash that like button right now. Share this video with your friends and family so they can see the truth about what's happening in our schools and in our government. And don't forget to subscribe to America First for more hard-hitting content that puts truth and liberty first. Together, we can take back our schools, protect our kids, and restore the values that made this country great. This isn't just a battle for policies, it's a battle for the soul of our nation. And as long as we stand together, we will win. Thanks for tuning in, patriots. Stay strong, stay free, and always put America first. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.